Well, the whole thing has been puzzling as we've been talking about as it's been happening. It seemed like a punishment. If the goal was let's beat them all the way down just so we could rebuild them, I'm not really into that. And I don't think it helps anyone in wrestling today to just lose week after week after week and look like a putz. And then all of a sudden he's not a putz. What do you think about?
He's unputzed.
Because in the past there have been like losing streak gimmicks, and sometimes, I mean, with Mike Boyette, it wasn't about getting a push at the end. It was just that it's funny he loses every week. But sometimes
Barry
someone,
Horowitz.
yeah, but sometimes people think that it is a way to build someone up by having them lose, and hopefully people care. Do you think that's an effective way to get someone over?
No, again, here's the thing. Barry Horowitz was a great worker and had a unique personality, right? And he was a fun guy, right? And the guys in the locker room liked him. He was never under consideration, nor would I think he would say this for being the top guy in a territory or the world champion or the regional, whatever. And so that was a way to use him because he had personality. It was something to do on television, especially the losing streak. It's been done in similar ways, similar places with the same kind of guy, a guy that could work and you liked and wanted to do something with, but it was entertainment for the television program, not something you sold tickets on. And guys that really did it well and it was memorable, like Barry Horowitz, they are remembered more as in the vein of I'm not trying to downgrade Barry Horowitz, but it was a cult figure type of thing. It wasn't like, oh, yes, Barry Horowitz's losing streak drew sellout crowds to X Arena. It was, oh, yeah, I remembered it was fun every week. He did some way or another. It would slip up and he'd lose. And you remembered it in that way. And that's kind of the intent of it at the start, is to do something that people remember that's entertaining with somebody on the card in the overall wrestling universe of your territory or your promotion or whatever. That's, you've got main event shit going on, selling the tickets in the arenas. No, a losing streak is never a good idea for a top guy.
Like when Sean Waltman came in and he became the 1-2-3 Kid, he had different names leading up to that. He beat Razor Ramon, and that was the thing that got him going after people who watched Raw saw him lose for several weeks, again, with several different names. That's different than a guy who, young wrestler, talented, with Vince McMahon, and then all of a sudden he just loses all the time for months.
Yeah. Well, it also, again, that's a different dynamic when you introduce somebody that nobody's ever seen or heard of before, right? And that's what in the pre-internet days, for the majority of people, they didn't know who Sean Waltman was before he showed up on Raw. I think we all agree that's fair. And yes, he lost, whatever, but then the upset came within a couple of matches, not several months. There was no losing streak like, okay, we've identified this guy week after week. When you see him, he's got job written across his face. He looked atypical for a pushed WWF talent. He was small, he was skinny, whatever the fuck. But then they established here's who he is, and he's had a couple matches, and right as you think, okay, this guy's going to be the job guy, then he beats Razor Ramon, top guy. Holy shit. That calls attention to the guy. And then he was always presented as an underdog. He didn't go out there and go toe-to-toe with Razor for 15 minutes and then beat him flat. He upset the bigger, stronger, more established, well-known star. That's why they call it an upset instead of a fucking drubbing. And so it's all about context.
And the context never works if it's just beat the guy down and then we'll rebuild him after everyone sees him lose to everyone.
Only in their minds. I mean, they can say that it works. When there's no quantification really now anymore of whether a guy is really drawing money until they get to the fucking Cena Rock level or whatever. So they can justify it in their minds. Oh, yeah, he had that good angle with Rollins, and now we're going to give him some wins, and he'll be maybe he will get over. How over would he have been before we did that other thing? We don't know because we can't go back and undo it. so out of, but I don't see why it was necessary.
And that was the review and the thoughts about Raw this week. You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen.